Welcome to another episode of the GYST, because when it comes to life, love, and the pursuit of happiness, sometimes you just need a moment to get your shit together. And so do we. I'm your host, Kay Bellamy, and my co-host hanging out with me tonight every Monday, every Wednesday, Stephanie Hamilton and Valerie Cannon. We are here to talk about some stuff, where people need to get their shit together. So, and normally it always winds up where not only do they need to get their shit together, but somewhere along the line we do too. It's out of control. It's out of control. So tonight we did not have a particular topic, but I do have some questions I have that surrounded around love. That's surrounded around love. And the first one is, because I'm always reading something and I read this stuff and then there's something else attached to it. That's why I couldn't pick just one thing. What exactly do you define love at first sight? Is there any such thing? And if you believe it is, what is it? What exactly is love at first sight? What does that mean? That means that I meet him today, or I meet her today, and I'm like, oh my God, I could actually be in love. Right. Because I met this person, I laid eyes on them, and they're like, this is it. What exactly is love at first sight? What does that mean? And do you believe in that?
I think love at first sight is physical. It's purely physical. When you talk about love at first sight, laid my eyes on you, I saw you, damn, that's physical. Now, when you open your mouth, we'll see where it goes, in my opinion. And, do I believe in it? Why not? I mean, I know relationships that took a while to cultivate. I know some relationships that met and got married 2 months later, and they're together 30 years later. So, whether I believe in love at first sight, I think it depends. Obviously, it depends on the individuals. I will tell you, it's never happened to me.
I was about to say, so no. Have you ever run across a man and you looked at him and you said, oh my God, I've known you for a good hour. I'm going to give you 24 hours. And I believe I could spend the rest of my life with you.
No. I have met some people that said, I've known you an hour. I can give you 24. I'll get back to you on the rest of my life. So it's never happened to me. It has never happened to me.
Stephanie.
I think it's possible. I think it was more possible years ago when things were simpler. Today with social media, I think a lot of people feel like they have to turn over every rock to make sure there ain't nothing under, some old rock in the corner somewhere to make sure there's not, that diamond in the rough hiding. But, I think it is possible to meet someone and say, yeah, I could see myself with that person. And
so you can literally meet someone and within 24 hours, because now I do believe that you can meet someone and within a couple hours, I know within 15 minutes whether I want to talk to you again. Like if I want to continue the conversation.
Right. Sure.
But
I think sometimes, yes, you meet someone and there is a connection. Now, does that mean will I? I don't know. But could I see myself with you? Yeah, I could. So just a real quick story. My parents met on a blind date. My mother's cousin and my dad's friend were dating. So my mother came up to Philly and she went on a date with my, with her cousin's boyfriend's friend, who was my dad. Right. And they met. And my dad said he knew on that first date that she was the one for him. And they were married 42 years until she passed. So do I believe it can happen? Yes. But I think it was more likely years ago, again, when things were simpler. You know, when people got married at 18, 19, 20, and 21, you know, and you were intended to be married. It was expected that you're married forever. I think now when it's easy to divorce. So many women are in the workplace themselves making as much or more money than their spouses. It's different. It's different. So I think it's a lot less likely now. But do I think you can meet somebody and be like, yeah, I could see myself with him? Absolutely.
All right. So
but I'm also the eternal optimist. So, you know.
Well, and that's because you've seen it happen. Yeah. You've seen it happen. Right. You lived with that. Well, you've seen it happen.
But not so much seen it happen, heard it happened, because those were your parents.
Right.
And so I do agree with you that there was a time where you kind of, but I even think then it was sort of, you trusted love a little more. You trusted the meaning of love a little more.
Sure.
I think why it's a struggle for us people today is because our trust in this thing called love and what that means exactly. So I think that
people are flaky.
Right.
They love you one day. Oh, you're my boo. You're my queen. You're this, you're that. The next day, they're on to somebody else.
And they're right. And they're okay with saying, I love you real quick and saying, I don't love you later. Like whereas like we talk about it, like back in the day, it took you a while to tell somebody you love them. Now, I think people will say it a lot quicker, and they'll also fall out of love a lot quicker, which could beg the question, was it ever love in the first place? But I think in the 21st century, that's what 21st century love looks like.
So with that said, what does it look like today? So if you met somebody, what would be the standard that you said this is love?
See, so, I don't know that it would be, the standard would be different for me, because I come from the time where, and now it's a little hard to explain, but I'm saying, I don't know that the standard would be different for me, because I would obviously, I mean, of course, disclaimer being I'm married, none of this is stuff I'm acting on. But if I weren't, I would think I'm meeting people my same age. So our standard of love would be similar. So I know that I still wouldn't feel like I could tell somebody I love them too soon, because I would feel like I need to really make sure that's what I'm feeling is actually love and not infatuation or lust or I just met you, so everything is great. So I'm not telling you I love you. And that would not be different for me. It wouldn't, like whether I was back when I was 30 or where I am now in my 50s. That wouldn't be different for me, because that's what I'm used to.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you, so Robin said chemistry is a dangerous piece. It can last a lifetime or years. Yes, it has happened to me for years, not the rest of my life, obviously. And then she also said, I too am a hopeless romantic. I did not plan on it lasting for years, but it did. So with that said, when you said, I'm not sure if I really know you. How long? So you meet someone, what is your turning point that says, yeah, it's time to do something? Is that a year? Is that 6 months? Do you have to feel it? You got to know it? Like, what's your turning point? When does the dating part?
I don't think there's a time frame one where you say, okay, we had 3 months. Now we can move on to the next step. Next, bring it in.
But you'll feel differently if 10 years go by.
I wouldn't allow 10 years. But I think in terms of how you feel about this person, if you know you could spend your life with him or her, whatever it may be, I think you go by your feelings. One thing that I do is I don't allow myself to go certain places in terms of my thinking, to go too far, to jump too far ahead. Oh, I can see myself with them, because we all know now you get burned that way. So you just kind of lay back. Let's see how this plays off. Let's see, is this his representative or is this really him? Who is showing up? Who is showing up when I'm having a bad day? Who's showing up when I'm feeling kind of funky? How does he react when he's having a bad day? Like, let some of these things, play out. Another thing, I truly believe, when you meet someone, there is that chemistry, and I think it's meant to be that way, because that's what pulls you together.
That's what pulls you in.
Together.
Right.
But love, I do not believe love is a feeling. Because you can love somebody one day and not really like him the next. And it can swing like a pendulum. I think love is that commitment that you put into it. We're equally committed to this. Day in, day out, we're going to make this work in this committed relationship. So if you go by your feelings, that's not gonna, I'm talking about married people.
So Val, you've been married for 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know your husband. You would say that you know your husband.
Yes.
So when you say that you know someone, is that you know them for a lifetime and nothing new happens? So like nothing new ever happens. What you know right now today is all you know.
So when I won't say nothing new happens. When you talk about knowing someone, like me knowing my husband, like I know his habits. I know what time you're getting up for work. I know the kind of, person you are at work. I know the types of things you like to do when it comes to us going out. I know how you are with the kids. That's what I mean by I know you. So does it mean you can never do anything new? That's not necessarily true. But, for me, being married, there's a comfort in knowing that, because one, it makes it easier to buy gifts. But, right. So there's a comfort in knowing that. And even, like your question, like you were just talking about, time frame. Like I think about the different relationships I had even before I got married, and then including when I met my husband at the point we got married. It really is about whether the two of you are just on the same page. Mm-hmm. Because if the two of you are on the same page and 10 years out, you're not married, and the two of you are on the same page, that's okay. The problem comes in where one of you wants to be married and the other one doesn't.
Or maybe. Or not right maybe. Now.
Right.
But this is what I'm saying. So when we say there is no time frame, I disagree with that, because I believe we do have one. We may not say it out loud, but we do have one, because most, I will say most women, if they're in a long-term relationship, are looking to be married at some point.
But we're talking about when you fall in love with someone.
It might not be a time frame. It might just be, like you said, it's a want. So that's something I want. And I want that whether we've been together 6 months or 6 years.
But and you don't want it 10 years from now. Because Stephanie said it immediately. She's like, yeah, I ain't staying for 10 years, but I can't really tell you what the time. So if you know what it's not, you got to know what it is.
But being in love with someone and being married are two different things.
Right.
So if I'm with someone, there's no way I'm going to be with someone for 10 years and I don't love that person. It's just not, there's just no way. I don't know how it
No, but I was asking the question that when does it pivot? When do you say, okay, this is the time that we need to do something different? This is a time.
And does that mean commitment or marriage or
marriage?
Like
exactly.
You get claimed to the pension. Right.
Exactly.
When does that happen?
Where are we? When does that happen?
Right.
Because you have stages. Because there's a stage where it's time I met your family. We've been dating for a year and I don't know your sister or your mother, So I think there are benchmarks along the way for where you should be. If you're with somebody, like I said, for 5 years and you don't know any of his friends, that's concerning. Then the question is why? Or do you not have any friends? Like, are you a psychopath? Like, what's the issue?
What that means is that you're not on the same page about your relationship. That's exactly what it means, because you're thinking, why haven't I met your family? And he's treating you like, listen, I ain't feeling you like that. So
why haven't I met your kids?
Right.
Why haven't I met your kids? Or why haven't I met your parents or your siblings or your friends, like you said? And those are real conversations to have. So just taking a little turn as Black women, if you dated outside your race, if you did, would you date outside your race? That's one. And if you did, would you be okay, or would you need for that person to know the struggle of Black relationships, or being Black, period? Would that be a deal breaker? So when you are having those hard conversations, or when you are watching the news and you're watching what's happening, like Black Lives Matter, if you are in a interracial relationship and they don't understand that plight, is that a deal breaker for you?
It would be.
Yeah.
I just don't see myself with somebody who I have to explain to them. Now, you know why this is a problem, right? You know that people don't like being clunked in the head because they're Black. Like, I don't even know how we would be together if that was a conversation.
Like, you do know when I encounter the police, I don't want a knee on my neck for, you
realize I don't pass for a white woman, right?
And listen, and he on the other side of the sofa saying, "Well, I understand why he doing that." And you like, really?
I wouldn't be with that.
Well, we wouldn't be in that. Right. So the original answer to your question is yes, I would date outside of my race. And yes, it would be a deal breaker, because if I'm in a relationship with anybody, I need to be able to talk to you about everything.
Right.
When we talk about level of intelligence, I need to be able to talk to you about everything. So whether that's what's going on in Afghanistan or Black Lives Matter, I need and I need to know from you that Black Lives Matter, and I wasn't just your trophy to show your friends that, hey, I got a Black girl.
Right.
So yeah, no, that would matter, and especially if we started the conversation and your side of it was, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with what they're doing. Oh, okay.
And also, I think it's different if you are dating someone, if he's Middle Eastern or if he's Hispanic, they already know. Like there's an understanding there about some things, not everything, of course, but there's an understanding about some things.
Right.
I have found in dating people who are dating men who are white, even just having casual conversations, they tend to overcompensate for that. Like they make it a point to tell you, I understand. You know what's going on.
Right, right.
Yeah. So
like, I know the struggle.
Yeah.
They like
struggle.
Whether they down with the cause or not, they put it out there like that they're certainly open to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Val, you may not be able to answer this question, but maybe Stephanie, from a dating perspective, and Val, you may have an opinion about this though, but from a dating perspective, in the middle of a pandemic, that hard to do? Like, do you invite them in?
Invite who in?
You're dating somebody. Like, we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Into my house?
Can you date through the pandemic?
Yeah, but you're not coming in my house. You're not coming in my house pre-pandemic. You don't know you like that.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, then how are you dating? How are you dating work in a pandemic? Because
you out and date. You don't have to come to my home.
Oh, so you're saying you're meeting, you're still, okay.
Yeah, like you go out to meet places. Like we go, see, here's the other thing. Even if I just met you.
The pandemic has lasted right now for 2 years. So you saying you just be going out for 2 years? Like outside?
No, so I was in a relationship up until a couple months ago. So that wasn't an issue. But post-relationship, you're not coming in here because you may be crazy or you may have COVID. Either or, you're not coming in. So
just say you may be crazy
or you may have COVID. Right.
I mean, so it is difficult. I think that is difficult to date during the pandemic for sure, because one, the mask situation, how do you even get to, actually look at somebody's face and and see their smile or any of that. You got mask on, you got all
Listen,
kinds of stuff.
I got new employees. I don't even know what they look like because I've only
This is
seen them
what
with
I'm
a mask
saying.
on. So I don't even know what they look like. So you could be dating somebody and not know what the hell they look like the first time you see them without a mask. Like,
People date differently. Like
you got a mustache?
You will FaceTime. Here's the thing, though. It's very interesting because I liken it to when we were all in our early 20s, probably, and it was the AIDS epidemic, where the question would be, have you been tested? Right? Now
Yes.
the question is,
Yes.
have you been vaccinated?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a real question.
Right.
A real
But people were even afraid to ask that question. And one thing I believe in the dating process is that we do not ask the real questions up front. We ask all the surface stuff. Like, what kind of job do you have? Where do you work?
No.
What's your
I ask that up front.
education?
What is your position about
what do you
food?
like to do? What's your favorite color? What's your zodiac sign?
Right, because apparently now I need to know
Exactly.
whether you're interested in bathing your kids. Like, I need to know stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Or whether you use deodorant. Do you use deodorant?
That too. Or do
you know what's the real
shower
question
regularly?
now? A real question is, who do you support politically? Whereas that was never a question before. That is asked now. And also, what's your stance on the vaccination?
Well, vaccination
openly asking those questions.
Oh,
well,
and listen, go ahead, Val.
The political thing is because of your previous administration. Because the truth is, despite the fact that I've dated someone who's a Republican, and but now that you've had that previous administration, now you're like, okay, because you're probably crazy if you were supporting the previous administration.
Damn, Val, you dated a Republican?
I did.
You need to get your shit together, seriously.
He was black, and you know him. He still is. He still is. But he wasn't crazy. And he did not support that previous president. We'll say that.
Right.
Same. Yep. Right. I did too.
So he was a sane Republican, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Wow.
And we got along just fine.
And so
but that's my point, that nuance, knowing who someone supports politically, is the result of who we had in office.
Right.
Because prior to that, there were some Republican presidents or Democratic presidents nobody had a problem with. And, if you supported the other one, like, okay, no big deal. But that previous administration is what had people very divided.
Right.
So here's a question. At the age you are right now, if sex went away in your relationship for whatever reason, can you survive?
Yep. Yep.
I cannot. I'm not even playing with you. I can't. I'm gonna need you to turn your camera off. Can you survive at the age you right now? Something happens in your relationship and there's sex is gone. It's not there. You can go on for the rest of your life without having sex.
One, without being overly graphic.
I cannot. Listen, I'm not playing with you at all. I'm not doing it. I ain't doing it.
All I'm going to say is this. Because as people get older, they have issues. Some people on medication, things happen. All I'm going to say is there's more than one way to skin a cat. We're just going to leave it at that.
So her answer is yep.
There's more than one way to skin a cat. And wait a minute, but you know what? Can we have a conversation? Well, that's for another day. But
I just wonder sometimes, like, is that it forever? Like
it doesn't have to be. That's the point.
March of 2021, March 22nd of 2021, like that was your last time.
There's more than one way to skin a cat. Do you want me to draw a diagram of how? Let me get my pen.
But sometimes you don't want. But sometimes you want the hair on the cat. You understand what I'm saying?
What?
Sometimes you want the hair on the cat. You don't want to skin it.
Well,
but you can get some. You can get some other products for the cat.
Oh my God. I'm not even sure where this is going. I don't even know what we're talking about now. It's a hairless cat who needs
She's talking about you get some other products for the cat. Really? All I'm saying is
forget
literally.
a surrogate cat.
I can't. I mean, didn't we put you on timeout one time before this?
We did. She was on timeout once for like 2 minutes. You on 2-minute timeout. And here's what I'm saying. I'm not suggesting that you don't enjoy, that there's not an enjoyment in sex and even regardless of the age. But I'm saying as you get older, you realize relationships, and especially long-term relationships, there's something deeper than just sex. And so if something happens to one of you that's not possible, that you could still be in love and stay in that relationship. So that's really what I'm saying. So while I, kind of joke about it like, yep, because I'm really just thinking, okay, most days I'm exhausted. I done a lot. If I told you about my schedule the last 2 weeks, that's the last thing on my list. My husband's probably not excited to hear that, but he doesn't really listen to the podcast because he's afraid of what he's going to hear. So,
Smart man.
So he doesn't listen, right? He doesn't listen. But I'm saying,
and while people use the term things that are, more important than sex, while there are things that are more important than sex, it does play a role. It does play a role.
The intimacy absolutely plays a role.
The intimacy, the act, the sex, all of it.
But here's the thing. Here's what I think is the key. If you love someone, to Val's point, I mean, I laugh and make jokes and all that, but it's in all seriousness. If you love someone, there is a selflessness about that. So you will find ways to please one another, whether that's physically, emotionally, whatever. So if one of you has an issue, you'll find a way as a couple to please one another. There is a way. You just have to figure out what works for you as a couple. I don't believe that your relationship has to lack physical intimacy. I do not believe that has to be the case.
Okay. So with that said, how long, how deep in your relationship are you talking about? I've been in a marriage for 14, 20 years. I'm good there. Or I've been in a relationship for a year.
I think a year is tough because you're still getting to know one another and you're still in that I can probably exit kind of stage. But I think once you've made that commitment, like I'm in this with this person, by hook or crook, I'm in it with this person, married or not. So for some people, it may be a year.
Wow. So you say married or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we've seen people who marry someone who has some kind of traumatic, accident or injury, and they're changed. And if you love that person, I love you for more than the sexualness of our relationship, and we will figure something out. That's why I joke. I said there's more than one way to skin a cat. There are ways that you can please one another.
Wow. Look at Val's face.
I didn't say me. I said other.
I'm still stuck on the hairless cat and I'm stuck.
Oh my God. Because I'm like, listen, I get it. But, I'm kind of thinking that, honestly, I'm trying to believe I'm trying to think if I'm actually that person. A year, if I'm in a marriage, then that's what that really is about. You have to figure it out. You have to know it. If we're dating, I'm not sure. Like, I literally have to honestly say, I'm not
And what
sure.
about men? I mean, we're talking to around this round table here with women. I wonder what men's response to that question
Exactly. It would be no.
No. Right. I was just saying no.
Exactly.
Because
It
we're
would
the
be
only
no.
ones that question could be posed to.
Exactly.
Exactly. They'd be like, hell no. I'm
Exactly.
out. Okay. Because I believe that men, and I've said this before, they will always find happiness somewhere. We're the ones who sit back and say, oh my God, I'm going to find myself, I'm going to skin the cat in another way. I'm going to do, we're going to be together and we're going to find some way to just love each other. Men are like, yeah, that don't really make me happy.
Yeah.
Not doing that.
No.
I got to figure something else
I
out.
mean, there's probably like 5 or 10 of them out there that would, but that's
Yeah.
It's
And
not
they
going to be.
and
It's not the majority.
they are 65 and older.
I don't know if they're all.
You say that. You say
10.
what?
She's like, okay. At 65 and old, I was as I was reading, these multiple articles about love. It is really interesting to find how differently people see love.
Mm-hmm.
How so differently people see love.
Mm-hmm.
And just with the three of us on this podcast right now,
Mm-hmm.
we completely see it differently. And not completely in some, far-fetched way.
Sure.
But see it differently, just up close and personal in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Period. It's like, listen, I'm thinking, I don't know if I could do that. You're saying, yes, I believe we could, even if we're dating, even if we're married. Val is like, yeah, but I'm just tired. I'm just tired of the whole shit. Like, I'm just tired of but it's amazing to see how differently people see love when love is such a powerful thing in our lives. And we all see it so differently. And we, read books like the 5 Languages of Love and understanding how people love and how they receive love.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really amazing how differently people see love, that somebody can meet someone today and marry them tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And feel very comfortable in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then proceed to figure out how to stay together for 20, 30, 40 years.
Well, that's like that show, Married at First Sight.
Yes.
Have you ever watched that?
Yes, I've seen some episodes of that. And so we all just see love so differently until it's just an amazing yet beautiful thing that we do see it so differently. So that is our conversation for tonight. I love you all for real, and I appreciate you all just kind of jumping in without any heads up, because we do that from time to time. And for those who are watching who have commented, thank you so much for tuning in to the GYST, because when it comes to life, love, and the pursuit of happiness, sometimes you just need a moment to get your shit together. And so do we. I'm gonna go find some love. I'm gonna go find that. Not a cat, but I'm gonna find some love.
If it is a cat, make it have hair.
Right. The GYST is on every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. And you can check out any of the shows on Facebook Live. So we'll see you next time. That'll be on Monday. Have a great night. Bye.
Good night.